designing through shape. So every halftone you see on the model, every little juxtaposition of value has to be lassoed and created into some type of mosaic. It's a very methodical method of teaching the Fred Fixler Riley method of tiling and learning how to tile. And tile basically is shape recognition painting. So these are just, this is a demo I did, I don't know, 15 years ago. We always start the gouache class with black and white. And so when we teach it, we used to teach it, obviously it's a 10-week course. You would do either 2 black and whites, your first time you took it. The next time you took it, you would do Zorn. And the time after that, you would do, full color, warm, cool. So we'd work up the palette chain, and it was a class that people would take. I think I took it 5-6 times over the course of the time I was at school. I always took it whenever it was offered. I always upped the ante. I started with vignettes, I started with heads, then I went into figures, then I went in multiple figures, then I went into mock portfolio pieces. So this is what some look like. And when you're learning how to paint, you want to learn it very monochromatically at first, and then open up the floodgates as you start getting better and better at it. This one was another student, Mike DeWeese. This is one of his first ones. So a lot of times when people would do a painting at the school or drawing that I thought was inspirational and could be of help for further students, we would put it up on the wall, and then we call them wall hangers. And those are like to me, the rite of passage of an art school is the wall that's created by the students that the teachers teach. It's one thing to have all this teachers work up there and have it look awesome, but it's another thing to have people that started from almost nothing and work their way up over years, and then they're at the same level as those teachers. And that's really hard to do. So over here you see the comps being done. These are little comprehensive sketches that you do ahead of time to figure out distribution of light against dark, dark against light. Do you want to silhouette the dark by light? Do you want to let the dark bleed into the dark and have it be a lost edge? And these are just idea generations. Usually you want to do these prior to doing your drawing on the board, because otherwise what's the purpose? You may do some cool abstraction of shape, have already projected your image down or drawn your image down, and now you don't have room to do it. So what was the point of doing the comp if you're going to do it backwards? Now I did it backwards because I have to do this demo, and so it's kind of do as I say, not as I do. That was a girl that took the class that worked for Universal. She was she was a programmer, actually converting over into traditional art, which was more of a software programmer. This, I believe, was one of Ron's Lemons. This is cool. It's one of his first paintings, and it's got a nice dual lighting situation, which is a little more challenging. You have the core shadow running down the middle. You have your dominant on the left and your subdominant on the right. A little more advanced, but fun to play with. This is, I think that was Sean, one of Sean's, another student. And that was just nice because I deliberately told him, hey, don't blend anything. Just try to keep it pixelated like that. And again, it looks, it's hard for me to look, man, it's so punchy up on the screen, but I'm sure it'll look better on the video. Now, these are some demos. Every time I would teach the class, I would obviously start the class with a demo. Just to, number one, show the students that you know what you're talking about. Lead by example, because I think it's important to earn the respect of your students. And then you go ahead and you approach it. Now, over here, I had done some little color comps of a different one, just showing the comping phase. And I think that was maybe that was a different class, I don't know. But this is just another little black and white with a little bit of a drippy kind of watercolory effect. Vignette going. Vignettes are really great to work with. So here's another cool one where I think I did in that class. I did all 3 of these for the demo. I don't know how I did it that fast, but the black and white I never finished, but I was showing that process. Then I think I showed a warm, cool lighting and just some different lighting scenarios and getting into a little bit of the color. And again, you can see that you're trying to roll the form or you allow the form to roll through juxtapositions of warms and cools. We're not going to be worrying about that. So here we're just going to be looking at trying to find ways to break up areas into large masses of very subtle value transitions. And a young female head is probably the most challenging thing to paint, so I am not going to have you do this for the first time. Now, chances are I might teach this class again next term, and I will then walk it into color if you want to continue on this path. Okay? Here's a nice cool one that I, no pun intended, it's very cold painting, but I have a rim lighting down here that's really powerful, and then I have obviously this kind of blue light, almost like he's out in the moonlight, or maybe he's on the deck of a boat and you've got some kind of light coming in from a lantern, and then you have the blue light from the moon or something hitting him from the other side. So that was kind of a fun one. Nice vignette. It's very fresh, very spontaneous. Okay, so now we go into the ones from the online schools. And so if you were to go through, you would start in black and white, right? So in the online, I have things like this. This is one of the demos I did on the online course. And my little comps are right here, and I clipped them on there. I just did them on a separate board. You can do them at the bottom of the board if you leave enough room. But I want you guys to mask off your piece very professionally. I want you to leave enough border that's even. If you're going to err on, the common way to do it is less on the sides, more on the bottom, more on the top. Or you can go equal all around. But this is just for if you mat the painting later or you do something like that. You just want to be always doing professional looking work. Don't do half-ass your preparation. It really is bothersome to me, and it's my dad grilled that into me. Art Center was really good at teaching him that. There's the comps for that one. You can see I had a circle motif, I had a little rectangular motif here, and then I had the one here, and that's the one I chose. And this was the piece that I did. And again, you can see trying to figure out how to wedge these shapes, because you're not going to see that in the reference. So you're going to have to make some executive decisions on how to design your tiles. And everyone's going to do it a little differently, because you could cut off any number of places in there, and it's not just a totally definitive, this is where it cuts off. And so some decisions have to be made. You don't want your tiles just to butt right up next to each other like a topographic map, and some people don't even know what that is anymore, but just look up topo map on Google, and it's basically the little map lines on a topography map when you're hiking or something. They kind of follow each other, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller, but they're all like right equal space next to each other. And you want to vary the size of your tiles, even if they don't look that way in the reference. It'll look a lot better aesthetically on the painting. So those are the black and whites. Then you would venture into the Zorn. And a Zorn would look something like this one, or something like, and again, you can see the comps at the top, working with my temperatures, working with the limited range of that palette. It's a 4-color palette. That's what you're going to do in oil as well. You're going to work through the same procedure in all the phases of the online program, if you haven't been in it yet. And I'm going to, cherry pick, because that's really how it should be learned. But even when we do it in the actual school, we have a tendency, people don't follow the protocol quite as rigidly as I think it should be. So the online was my version of what I think it should ideally be. And a lot of people do it backwards and upside down because they can't take the class on a certain day, and it's only offered during days or afternoons, and so they can never take the gouache class, and so they're all over the place. But it still works out. It's just not as pretty. That's one of the hardest heads to paint, is a young female child. I mean, wow, that's probably the hardest one I did on that whole series. I can't remember. I think that was also Zorn. And then we went into warm, cool paintings of the warm, cool. You can see again me playing temperatures up here and playing around with different harmonies. And then we went into another attractive young female, difficult, but not my favorite, but did work. Again, these were all done with verbalization and fairly quickly. So, that was a fun one of a warm, cool juxtaposition using dual lighting and splitting it between warms and cools, and then trying to harmonize that. And so I think that one came out quite nice. You've got the complementary greens with the reds, and then you've got the different, again over here, a deeper red and a blue. And so again, you've got the oranges over here in the blue, so they're harmonizing off each other. So you have a lot of complementary harmonies happening, but we're not even going to worry about that right now. This is where we're heading. This is where we'll go a couple terms from now. And again, if you want to dive into it a little bit more in between terms, hop onto the online, do a couple extras, or do it while you're going along with the class. It depends on how much time you have, energy, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's just some samples I wanted to show you. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them that have been done by students over the years. Now, this is a very cold and calculated style of painting. It's not the most spontaneous. I wouldn't even say it's not the most fun. For me, I love certain styles of painting that are very unorthodox. But you earn that. You work towards that. You start with very conservative styles. You master them, and then you open up and open up and open up until you get to where you can do whatever you want.